CM Punk, AEW Collision, Forbidden Door, Logan Paul, Money in the Bank, Bloodline Civil War. A lot going on, Kevin. So, how you doing, pal?
I'm great, pal. And I want to say this before we get started. I remembered. Look at this. We actually received 8 5-star reviews on Spotify. So thank you all to everyone who went and did that. Can we get to 10? Can we get two more? Just two more 5-star reviews on Spotify? Uh, the Spotify numbers were going crazy the last couple of weeks. Some real traction growing there. So I love to see that. Thank you all for your support. We can't do it without you.
Yeah, I said this in the YouTube community post. Even if you leave one person, you go over, it takes 30 seconds, you leave a 5-star review. You might think that's nothing. It does quite a lot. So thanks everyone who's done it so far, and anyone listening who has Spotify or can just go across there or Apple Podcasts or whatever, leave a rating. Does the show the world of good. But Kevin, I've got to ask you. Let's just cut right to the chase. We're the only wrestling show you need to listen to. So I'm going to ask you this, pal.
Uh oh.
CM Punk, AEW Collision. What were your ruthless, brutally honest thoughts on episode number one?
Oh, pal. I mean, overall, so CM Punk, he came out, he cut a promo like we thought that he would.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to bash this promo when I first heard it. I wanted to. But then I thought about it. It's like CM Punk's a real OG. Like CM Punk's like real. Like there's nobody on the AEW side of things that's gonna come out with a microphone, look at the hard camera in front of 20,000 people in an arena, in front of millions watching at home, and call another wrestler
Oh,
soft.
not millions, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, no one else is gonna do that. Only CM Punk. Not only CM Punk, but he's one of the few of the dying breed. He's not like the wrestlers that are out nowadays. He's built different. He does things his own way. He says things his own way. And I thought that opening promo was fantastic. Um, Now I want to say this: if it doesn't lead to the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega eventually having some sort of storyline with CM Punk, the mention of them is interesting at that point. Like you're just doing it just to take shots. Because his whole thing is like, oh, I'm professional. I tried to talk to them and they said, oh, talk to my lawyers. So what's no different than what you're doing versus what they're doing if you're just going on live TV taking shots at them for no reason? You know what I mean? You're not that much more professional than them, pal. But if that is part of an angle at some point, then I'm all for it. But yeah, that's enough of me. What did you think? This is your GOAT, pal. This is your favorite wrestler. This is the guy that you idolized. This is the man that's responsible for the way that you've turned out to be now as an adult. CM Punk was everything for you as a young JTE. How did
Yeah.
you feel seeing Philip Jack Brooks in the middle of that ring in front of hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of people on TV and thousands in attendance, calling out Matt and Nick Jackson and Kenny Omega?
That question was longer than your actual answer and your opinion on the promo. That being said, no, Kevin, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I like the point you make with CM Punk there, that he does walk to his own drum, and when he comes out with live microphone in front of a whole arena, there's something about Punk. I think I discorded you this while it was happening, but Punk, from a sheer promo perspective, from like a watching live, what's he gonna say? Oh my god, he's the best in wrestling.
Yes.
No one has that feeling of, oh, he could go anywhere with this. He could say something really like, oh my god, because as we've discussed, a lot of people in AEW, especially, try and be Punk on the mic. They try and take digs at WWE. They try and make super personal, breaking the fourth wall shots. A lot of guys can do that, but it's not CM Punk. It's not Phil Brooks. The way CM Punk does it, he's the godfather of this. So when you're watching him cut a promo, you're really watching. Okay, what's he gonna say? What's he gonna say? Oh, he said counterfeit bucks. Oh, he had the line about. I love the line about the dog collar match with MJF, and he's holding the world title belt, which is in the bag. It's clearly the world title belt, and he's like, I got this title not because I had a good dog collar match, because I won the dog collar match. Okay, like it was the delivery. The crowd was really into it. He thanked the crowd a lot for the first half of the promo. He's really grateful for everyone who supports him. It's funny when he called out the signs, Kevin. He's like, that one says Pepsi Phil. That one says CM Punk. That one's negative, but I'm going to say I like it anyway. Like, that was good. And then obviously the big thing that got all the traction was the counterfeit Bucks line, because obviously any mention to the Elite, any mention to Brawl Out is what gets the traction. Punk made a couple of slight, not like personal digs. He didn't come out and say, Ace Steel was in the locker room and Kenny Omega did this and the chair was thrown at this angle. He didn't go into specifics, thankfully. That would have been a disaster and a train wreck, because apparently this was a live mic. The reports were that this was an unscripted, just give CM Punk the mic for 10 minutes in Chicago to open Collision promo, which has all kinds of risks to it. But Phil was fairly professional here. He's not too disgruntled, Kevin. He just had 8 months off, so he's in a good headspace for now. Give it a little bit. And yeah, no, I thought good promo, entertaining 7 minutes. It seems like the direction, Kevin, from what I gathered watching that, is they're going to do Punk and MJF again in the next couple of months. They're going to unify those titles for the world titles, which is going to be a big match. Punk and MJF, that's the clear 1 versus 2 in AEW. Because Kevin got me thinking, and feel free to answer this in a moment. Punk's obviously AEW's top guy. When you're watching that promo, no one else in AEW can make you feel or make you emote to a promo the way Punk did in that promo. Who's number 2 in AEW?
MJF.
Because exactly, I'll throw to your thoughts on Dynamite and just generally everything AEW in a moment. But obviously, Punk's up here, and then there's the rest. And I guess MJF is the creme de la creme of the rest. And then there's just a bunch of toys in Tony Khan's toy boxes we'll talk about. So yeah, Kevin, that's my thoughts. That's my honest, ruthless assessment. There you go.
Lovely. Thank you for that, pal. All right, so now let's talk about the match just for a moment. How did you think CM Punk looked? I think the 6-man tag was a good way to go to protect him from himself. Obviously, they don't want him to get injured again. I didn't think it was anything to write home about. And overall, just the direction of Collision for that first episode just kind of felt like, here you go. This is like a... Well, what was it when during the pandemic they were running like special Dynamites? They had like Winner's Home or something. It was just like, this is a special Dynamite.
Yeah.
That was like the feeling that I got from it.
Yeah, like themed Dynamites. Yeah. No, that's a great call. I like the feel of it. That's what I will say. I like the presentation way more than Dynamite.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something about Dynamite, it's grown stale. Probably
Yes.
it's been 4 years of basically the same format. Nothing's really changed. It just is what it is at this stage. This felt fresh. I love the red color scheme, the bright yellow, bit of black in there. It felt very sort of like WCW esque. I did like that. It had a feel to it. The red ropes, the presentation, I did like. Now, granted, maybe I'll get sick of it within a month. Maybe in 3 months I'll be like, couldn't care less. Who knows? But for the premiere, the pilot episode, I liked it. We'll see where that goes. But yeah, Kevin, I don't know. I probably liked it a bit more than you did. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Granted, will I now watch every week, every second?
Yeah.
I'll definitely catch highlights and what I need to see. I don't know if I'll watch the whole 2-hour show every week. I didn't love it that much, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a fine show. Like, if I had to give it like a scale of 1 to 10, like I'd say like a 6. Like, it was good.
Yeah.
You know, like 6 out of 10. It was fine. I mean, it was mostly the Punk stuff. The TNT World Title changed hands. That's kind of like the hardcore title back in WWF. Now at this point, it's just changing hands like left and right. Wardlow was champion. Hobbs was champion. Darby had it again. Like, I don't know what's going on. But let's pivot to Dynamite. So CM Punk, they did confirm at Forbidden Door he's gonna face Kojima. The rumor is that Kenta pulled out of the match. I don't really know exactly what happened. We were gonna have GTS versus GTS, pal, but now we've got Kojima versus CM Punk in a men's Owen Hart Cup tournament first round match. So we have that to look forward to. And in the build up for that, we did get a CM Punk appearance on Dynamite. So CM Punk, he came out, I believe it was the main event of Dynamite. We had just an absolute brawl erupt. No, it wasn't a backstage brawl. Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks were not there because Philip Jack Brooks was in the building in Chicago. So those 3 guys stayed home. So it was him, FTR, and Ricky Starks, and they beat up the Guns and Jay White and Juice Robinson. I guess they're the new Bullet Club. And CM Punk, he grabs a mic and he's like, I'm not even a Dynamite guy. I'm supposed to be on Collision. I thought that was like, I don't know, like inside baseball for the sake of inside baseball. Just like the inmates running the asylum. Just, you know, like, okay, like we gotta have that. Like we could have lived without that line, but it's not the end of the world at the same time.
Mm.
And yeah, I don't know. I guess we're gonna see. Yeah, that's the direction. The Bullet Club versus Punk and FTR. I don't really know. They're not really setting anything up for Punk. That's kind of the point I'm getting at here. They're not really setting anything up for Punk, so we don't know exactly what he's gonna do. There's a lot of speculation. I kind of like that. I don't know how do you feel?
I mean, depends how you look at it, because yeah, as you say, there is the good side of that where you're gonna watch more so, be like, "Oh, what is Punk gonna do? What's he gonna if he's kind of dabbling in a few different pots here? What's exactly is he gonna do?" So there is that, which that's a positive. But then again, it can be argued that it's a bit directional. I don't know. We'll see. He's been back for like a week, so
Yeah, exactly.
before if they give it another month of him just doing like a bunch of different little things all over the show, then it'll be a bit like, okay, what's going on? What's happening with Phil? It seemed, as I said, that an MJF storyline is where they're going to go after Forbidden Door. But then again, MJF's feuding with Adam Cole, so what's happening there? I don't know. Waits to be seen. TK has too many toys in the toy box. He doesn't know which one to play with. So I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, Kevin, this Forbidden Door show, we addressed this a week, 2 weeks ago in our podcast. This is like like this is what AEW's made for, basically. It's a super great like match card for that audience who love New Japan, AEW, the style of wrestling, who are just diehard wrestling fans. This show is perfect for them. The main matches are like dream fantasy matches. It should be a really good like 4 hour night of wrestling, I think, or however long it'll go for. So it has all that. I do find the Kenta thing funny. I can imagine that it was pitched to him GTS versus GTS, and he was like, "Nah, I'm good, thanks. Nah." But yeah, nah. So it should be good,
I mean,
Kevin.
that's
And
a loss for Kenta, pal. That's a pay per view payoff that he lost out
true.
on. That's idiotic, bro. You're wrestling Philip Jack Brooks on an AEW pay per view. That's a big payday. But I digress. Could continue.
But I was just gonna say, pal, you watched a fair bit of Dynamite, the main stuff. On your honest opinions, with what you've seen, obviously we've mentioned Forbidden Door, which is yeah, like this weekend. But well, as of you listening to this, it would have been last week. But when it comes to you, Kevin, you watch AEW, you followed most of that show. What did you think? What were your thoughts on the direction? Any segments that stood out to you? Just talk to us.
Oh yeah, there's one segment in particular that stood out to me. We're gonna talk about that. So there was a segment for Chris Jericho, um, Sammy Guevara, and Suzuki. They're calling out Sting and Darby Allin, and we got a match announced for Forbidden Door. We got Lei Suzuki Gods. So that's the aforementioned team of Jericho, Guevara, and Suzuki. You're gonna face Sting, Darby Allin, and a third man that will be revealed at Forbidden Door. Now, just imagine, right? Picture this: you're in Forbidden Door in Toronto, Canada. You got what 12,000 people sitting there. Wrestling Gifts is there with his girlfriend. Wrestling Gifts is live in the audience, and we're getting the big reveal for who Sting and
Oh
Darby
no.
Allin's partner is gonna be. And you know, we get a 5, 4, 3, 2, and then all you hear is dun 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 when it comes crashing down and it hurts inside. And then we get Terry Bollea marching down to the ring. He's the third man, brother. He's pointing at Chris Jericho. You. And we get the big leg drop.
Kevin, people are gonna hate that you even put that idea into the universe. People are gonna be like, Kevin, shut up. Don't even dream about that. How Terry Bollea as the third man. And Kevin, I want your honest thoughts on that, because Jericho and Sting is the main direction there. You mentioned the match they're doing at Forbidden Door, but really the genesis of that is Jericho versus Sting. And I'll throw back to you again. You watched the segment, the Jericho thing, and your just general thoughts. Chris Jericho, 64-year-old Steve Borden, 2023, they're feuding in AEW. Talk to us.
So I have several issues with this. The first being Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin. We were just told for like 6 weeks that these guys are pillars of AEW. They're focal points of the show. And then this week, Darby Allin is relegated to gently walking behind Steve Borden as Steve Borden gingerly makes his way to the ring. And Sammy Guevara is relegated to standing behind Chris Jericho as Chris Jericho's calling out Steve Borden, calling him a whore. Chris Jericho literally called him a whore on live TV. Now, this is 2023. In theory, you would think the pillars Guevara and Darby Allin would be the focal point of this. But instead, we've got, for whatever reason, Jericho and Sting out there. And it's Jericho and Sting right now, like they're doing a 6-man tag because the two guys are too old to do a one-on-one match. Like that's just the reality. Calling a spade a spade. What is going on, pal? The series hijacking the show. But yeah, I mean, you got, come on, Jericho Sting. Sting is 64, bro. Like it's cool. We never got to see Jericho and Sting back in their prime in WCW. Like it's cool to see that, but do we need to? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to hate on it because it's not really bad, but
Yeah.
I just don't like the booking of like, okay, these guys are pillars, and then they're standing behind legends who are too old to have a one-on-one match, so they have to be a fill-in instead of getting their own focal point on the show.
Well, Kevin, this goes back to the point we were making about 10, 15 minutes ago with AW's number 2 and really the everyone else that's not CM Punk. It's sort of all over the shop. It's we've kind of talked about this for a while now, for years almost. It's whatever toy Tony Khan feels like plucking and having wave around. That's really what it is. Because CM Punk's the guy, he's the one you care about at the moment. Whatever Punk does is what we'll talk about. Kevin, we'll lead a show off for Elite Heat with what CM Punk's doing or Phil Brooks, whatever. We're not going to lead a show off with pretty much anything else as far as AW wrestlers, which says a lot. And you look at that, Darby Allin, he's Steve Borden's entourage. A month ago, he was in the co-main event of Double or Nothing against MJF for the AEW World Championship. Sammy Guevara's in that same boat as well. A month ago, they're ramping up the 4 pillars. These are the future of AEW, Kevin. These are the guys in AEW. These are the stars, World Championship, Fatal 4-Way, Double or Nothing, the 5th installment, the main co-main event. And now what? Now Sammy G's backslapping Chris Jericho as he prepares for his I guess retirement home clash with Steve Borden. Steve Borden getting himself warmed up, getting himself ready as Darby Allin helps paint his face backstage. What is this? These two guys are your future, your pillars. And I guess your pillars are there to help support cracked, wrinkly, old, frail pillars in Sting and Jericho. I don't get it. I don't know. But this is the direction, I guess. It's not Punk. It's not whatever he's involved in. So it's just sort of throw it at the wall. The match will be good at the pay-per-view. It'll book itself, whatever. That seems like the MO. I don't know. That's when I watched that, Kevin, I saw a bit of that segment as well. Ridiculous. It's just like, okay, Jericho called Steve Borden a whore. Brilliant. Fantastic. 64-year-old Steve Borden is a promiscuous individual. Okay. Fantastic. Steve Borden at the retirement homes getting around. Great. And is this what we're using? Is this storytelling, Kevin, in 2023? Chris Jericho, the guy who was the foundation piece, the first AW World Champion ever, is calling a 64-year-old Steve Borden a whore, a promiscuous individual on AEW's flagship program, AEW Dynamite. This is what Tony Khan is putting millions and millions of dollars into producing. Kevin, I'll throw back to you. With this being said, what are your excitement levels for Chris Jericho and Sting's feud with Sammy G, with Darby Allin, the pillars of AEW, sat behind, waiting in the wings, can't get a spot because of these two, because Jericho's calling Steve Borden, a 64-year-old man, a, quote, whore. Thoughts?
I'm not going to harp on this too much because I already buried it enough.
Yeah.
So I'll say my excitement level is a flat 5 out of 10. I'm like a 5 because it's Jericho and Sting and like the mystique and the aura of like two legends. But then the other half of me that's like, if I showed this to like one of my friends, they'd be like, why am I watching this right now? Like, why is Chris Jericho still wrestling? Like, you know what I mean? So that's like the whole thing. Let's talk about the rest of Forbidden Door for just a moment.
Yeah.
I want to touch on 2 big matches that we have going on at that show. And that's Adam Cole versus Tom Lawler and Tony Storm versus Willow Nightingale. No, I'm kidding. Kenny Omega. in all seriousness, Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson versus Okada. This card is gonna be awesome. Is it worth paying $50 for? That's up to you to decide. But it's an awesome card, and those two matches in particular are big matches. And this is the kind of stuff that we wanted to see when AEW first became a thing 4 years ago. We wanted to see Okada in there. I think this is his first appearance in AEW. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. He might have appeared at Forbidden Door last year or an AEW house show in Daytona 6 years ago or whatever it was. So, um, Danielson versus Okada, talk to us.
That match is, I talked about, perfect for the AW audience. It's just a big time match in the just the sort of wrestling space, period. And the fact you got Brian Danielson involved, we know all he's done. Okada's Japan's biggest star the last really 10 years. And then you got Tanahashi on the show as well. He's wrestling MJF. That's just happening, I guess. You got MJF and Hiroshi Tanahashi for the AW World title. That's just happening. And that'll be the match that gets about the fourth most buzz on this show, realistically.
Yeah,
Because Omega Osprey slash Brian Danielson Okada will get like the most. They're like the two main events. And then you're going to have CM Punk's match, which people are going to talk about because it's Punk. And then MJF and Hiroshi. So there's that. Kevin. Then again, actually, the third man match. Kevin, who's the third man? Is it going to be Terry Bollea? Is it going to be. Who is it? Is it going to be another surprise wrestler? Is Jeff Hardy going to run out there? Who knows?
it's gonna be
Who
Miro,
knows what's
pal.
going on? Like,
It's
who
gonna be
knows,
Miro.
Kevin? Is Bron Breakker going to run out there and be the third man? Is he going to bark at Chris Jericho? Is Chris Jericho going to call Bron Breakker a whore and Bron Breakker like goes, "Rrr, rrr, rrr." Like, what's going on? What's happening? But nonetheless, my thoughts on that match, it should be excellent. I know AEW, I know how they book these things. They'll give that 30 minutes. They'll give Omega Osprey 30 minutes. They'll give MJF Tanahashi 25. The Punk match will get 15. All these matches will get a lot of time. This will be a long show, but each match will be excellent. Well, it has the makings of each match being excellent, particularly in the main events. So that's my thoughts. It should be a pretty good event. I'm going to predict now, when you're listening to this, all our great listeners, this is after Forbidden Doors actually happened. We're recording this before. So I think the event will be praised as like a 8.5, 9 out of 10. One of the best pay-per-views of the decade. One of the
Absolutely.
best events. It'll be a big sort of, oh my God, it was incredible. The matches will be great, especially those main event ones. How that translates, if you show Random Joe Blow this show, will it be like the greatest, most captivating show if they don't know half the people on it? I don't know. But for the people who do know what's going on, I'm sure it will be excellent. It'll probably be like an 8.5 out of 10 show. So that's my thoughts, Kevin. Anything more on Forbidden Door, or do you want to slam that door and move on?
Now let's talk about the Evil E, pal. It's that time.
Yep.
All right,
Mac
so
Daddy, pal.
yes, sir. So on Monday Night Raw, it was actually live from Cleveland. We got a massive, just shocking, monumental announcement for Money in the Bank 2023. Logan Paul is headed to London, pal. Logan Paul received a special invitation. He's gonna be in Money in the Bank. Logan Paul, he declared that he's gonna bring some winning to the city of Cleveland because LeBron James never brought them a title. So Logan Paul's gonna be the only athlete to ever bring something to Cleveland in the last 50 years. So yeah, I can't believe he said that too. Like he literally said that in the promo. Like LeBron doesn't exist. He's just like, I'm gonna bring some winning to Cleveland. Like what? But yeah, I'll ask you this: overall,
Yep.
hypothetically, and I think now Logan Paul is going to win the Money in the Bank. I think that's what's gonna happen. Let's say hypothetically though, let's say he wins Money in the Bank. What do you think he can do with it? More importantly, can he save the concept? Because we've seen the Money in the Bank briefcase has been a joke for about 4 years now. Just comedy characters winning it. Otis, Austin Theory cashing in on the U.S. Championship and losing. So, what do you think we're gonna see if Logan Paul wins Money in the Bank?
I still can't believe they did that with Austin Theory. I'll just get that out of it. That especially when you just say what happened, it's even worse. But nonetheless, Logan Paul being in Money in the Bank, for starters, just with this match, it saves my interest in the match because Kevin, I don't know about you, I did not care. Prior to Logan Paul announcing his entry, I looked at the field of guys in this match: Ricochet, Nakamura, Santos Escobar, Damian Priest, Butch, and LA Knight. I looked at that field and said, that's the worst Money in the Bank field ever. But now Logan Paul's involved. I mean, LA Knight's LA Knight. His presentation is always interesting to myself and a lot of people. So I care a bit more. So as far as the short term, immediate, I care more about the Money in the Bank match for the men, so that's a tick. The segment they did, I found hilarious, Kevin. I thought the Logan, his announcement was whatever. He's sitting on top of the ladder. I thought the lighting was good, that it was shot well, the presentation. He announces that the executives have spoken. They've chosen him. He's been handpicked to be in Money in the Bank. He's going to, bring winning to Cleveland, pal. Because LeBron James, I guess, LeBron won a title in Minnesota, I guess. It wasn't in Cleveland. I don't know. But nonetheless, the best part of that segment, I don't know if any of you caught this, when all the wrestlers are coming down, doing their like 30-second to a minute promo. No, I should win. Logan, you're not going to win. I'm going to win. Ha ha ha. Ricochet. Ricochet's mic work it still needs a lot of work. It's not there yet. But Kevin, when Butch comes out, all guys are in the ring. Logan Paul's there. He's like, oh, now this guy's talking. This guy, Butch's music hits. Butch comes down. Logan Paul, it felt like the biggest shoes. I don't even know who that guy is. What's going on? He's just like, and it makes you think about Logan Paul and the sort of status of him. Obviously, Logan Paul hasn't done the conventional wrestler route. He hasn't spent 10 years on the indies. He hasn't paved his way through years of arduous death matches in front of 25 people in a bingo hall. Logan Paul has got here through being a self-made social media star, extremely marketable, a slew of controversies, but that's elevated him to this big name that he is today. So
And a
he's got him
boxer.
that way. And when he's in the ring and he's doing his thing, I'm thinking, okay, LA Knight has the same posturing as Dwayne Johnson. Like that's how he stands. LA Knight's copied all of The Rock's mannerisms. He's studied them so clearly. You can tell by watching him, and it's great to watch. But the rest of these guys, Kevin, it's a smoke show circus of indie mid carders. When Butch runs out there, and you've got Logan Paul, I'm like, this is just Logan Paul is so clear of Butch, for instance. The presentation, when the feeling when you're watching. So that was a long-winded diversion answer, Kevin. But the whole point here: can Logan Paul save Money in the Bank? He'll probably save it for this year. I don't think long-term the concept can be saved. I'll get your thoughts on that in a moment. Can Logan Paul winning it and either feuding with Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns and potentially winning the title for the next couple months over the summer, can that save a concept that's been really ruined for the last decade? No, but it can bring it back to life a bit. It can give it a pulse, Kevin. Logan Paul can give Money in the Bank a pulse. So over to you. Answer that question.
Yeah, I think Logan Paul could temporarily revive it. I think that's like the best way to put it. Yeah, we're not gonna see a big time like Money in the Bank resurgence. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's in the cards, especially the way Triple H likes to book long term title reigns. But having Logan Paul here, at least for this year, at least for Money in the Bank 2023, saves the match, and quite frankly, saves the show. I mean, the card is pretty solid. You got Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. We've seen that. Cody versus Dominic. That's intriguing. The women's Money in the Bank is what it is. Trish Stratus is in there. That's cool. We have the Bloodline match. We have that stuff going on. So it's a pretty good card. But Logan Paul, I think, makes this card must see now. I think he takes it from like, okay, it's Money in the Bank. Oh, we got the Bloodline match. Like, yeah, it's cool. I'll check that out. But now it's like, now I gotta see Logan Paul in the Money in the Bank. I gotta see how he's gonna perform. I gotta see what kind of crazy stuff these 7 guys are gonna put on. The crazy spots. We're gonna get a big spot from Logan Paul. We're gonna get a big spot from Damian Priest, a big guy doing big moves. Santos Escobar, Ricochet. They're gonna do crazy stuff. It's gonna be really fun. And I think it's going to be a really good Money in the Bank match. Potentially, this could be an all-time, in terms of in-ring quality, this could be an all-time great Money in the Bank match. It may not be one that we look at and we're like, oh, wow, there's a lot of star power 10 years from now. We might not think that. But it's definitely going to be one that is going to be rewatchable, I think. Very highly rewatchable. It's going to be a good match. We're going to talk about that. We're going to review the whole show. So I'll save that. But Logan Paul, anytime he's on WWE TV, it is must-see. He is a star. He brings something that other wrestlers just don't bring to the table. He doesn't bring the same thing that Roman Reigns brings, but it's close to it. You could argue that he's in the mix as WWE's like one of their most important stars, honestly. If he's going to be a regular, if he's going to be doing Money in the Bank matches, if he's going to be doing Royal Rumbles, WrestleMania every year, he has to be looked at as one of the focal points of WWE. Am I wrong?
100%. I fully agree with you. I think from a focal point standpoint, who are WWE's guys. Roman, Cody, Seth Rollins, Logan Paul, like he'd have to be on that level at this stage. When you look at his presentation and this, I like what you say there. He's made this Money in the Bank. I mean, the men's match and really the show, because the show was going to be pretty good regardless. This Bloodline Civil War, Cody and Dom will be pretty good. Rollins and Finn Balor will have a good match, and the women's Money in the Bank match will be at least decent. But Logan Paul being in this men's match, that changes the complexion of the whole event. And we'll discuss Money in the Bank specifically more in the preview next week, or well, for you listeners later this week. And there's a lot to discuss there. But generally, to answer the question, yeah, Logan Paul is in that top rung of guys. He is one of those guys who can make a match more interesting just by his presence, which is a big thing. It's a big deal. Logan Paul announcing himself into this match has made me at least go from I couldn't care less about Money in the Bank, don't even do the men's match, retire the concept, I'm done, to hey yo, this should slap. Like it's amazing how one guy entering the match can change it so much. So yeah, no, it should be really good. This match is going to be insane as well. We'll do more of a preview in our Money in the Bank preview, but the guys involved, I expect a Priest to do like a razor's edge or a guy like there's the ladder and then the guy's arms like through the ladder and he throws the person. They just land like on the ladder like that, something like that. You know, Ricochet will do his 720 off the top of the ladder onto all the wrestlers. Logan will do something ridiculous, but he'll probably run up a ladder like a Shelton Benjamin, then do a big dive onto everyone on the outside. And there's gonna be a heap of nut spots. There's gonna be a bunch of social media viral spots which you're gonna watch and go, that real wow. I reckon they're gonna do things we've never seen before, which is a testament because we're in 2023, Kevin. It feels like we've seen everything, but I think these guys in this match will do things we've never seen on the main stage. So yeah, no, it should be really good. I'm now looking forward to it because of Logan Paul, and yeah, that's all you can really say.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe we'll get a Prime bottle out there. But I digress. So now let's talk about the Bloodline stuff from SmackDown.
Yep.
But what did you think of that whole segment with the Usos? You know, turning their back on their cousin Joe Anoa'i.
What I will say is the Bloodline segments the last month have really picked up. Now, after WrestleMania, I was very vocal in my criticisms about Roman Reigns sitting at home with titles. He's not even there. WTF is this? Cody should have won. Now, with these Bloodline segments, there was the big Roman 1000 segment where Roman was gifted the hot mustard title, as you described. And then there was a really heated personal family segment involving, Jay, Jimmy, Solo, Heyman. Then there was the segment on SmackDown last week. Now, the segment we're referring to is one where the Usos, Jay Uso has to make his decision, where Joshua has to decide is he gonna stick with Jonathan, so Jimmy Uso, or is he gonna go with Joseph Anoa'i, Roman Reigns? Like, what's he gonna do? So this segment was great. Roman, he is the best. Him and Cody are the best kayfabe promos in wrestling in that they can stick purely in the realm of fake scripted storyline and make you really compelled. One thing with Punk and AEW and MJF and all these wrestlers beforehand, I feel like a lot of them need to break the fourth wall to have it truly be compelling, which isn't a good thing. Roman Reigns, they can tell this family kayfabe storyline, and it can be super compelling. Roman Reigns taking shots at Jey Uso and the upbringing, some of the lines he does about the title defenses, how just you need to watch these Roman Reigns segments, these promos, the things he's saying, the way he delivers it. His delivery is excellent. He's a Hollywood delivery. It's like the presentation, the aura. Very few guys have that in wrestling because wrestling's just like a small thing. Hollywood's a bigger stage. So Reigns has that delivery and he's ready to go to Hollywood whenever. He really is. I love the acting as well. Jey Uso, Kevin, if I had a dollar for the amount of times in the last month, 2 months, 2 years, 4 years, when Jey Uso has done the where he's looking emotional and he's trying to, gather. He's had so much practice at doing that. So now when he snaps, it's this big thing, and they super kick Roman Reigns, and you thought he's going to turn his back on Jimmy, but no, he turns his back on Joe Anoa'i and Solo Sikoa. So yeah, the Usos are going to steam into Money in the Bank. Will they win the match? Who knows? We'll discuss that more in the preview. But yeah, Kevin, my thoughts on this Bloodline segment, one of the better ones this year. Uh, Kevin, one more thing I'll say before you go. Those Bloodline segments, especially when Reigns was off TV, when it was Kevin Owens yelling at Jey Uso, when Reigns was off TV, when it was at that stage, I'm like, okay, either end the storyline or do something with Roman. It got to a bit of a breaking point, but they've gone to do stuff with Roman. It's ramped up into another gear. Full credit to this. This has been excellent, especially the last month. So, yeah, that's my thoughts. What do you think, Cal?
Yeah, this is good stuff. I like how Jey Uso finds himself in the middle of the whole thing again.
Yeah.
It's like a different iteration of the 2020 storyline that we saw. I thought this one was going to be more Jimmy centric,
Mm.
and maybe it'll get there at some point. But I really like the, like you said, just to touch on what you said. Roman's delivery is top notch. Roman, he just, and I think part of it's real. I think there's Samoan family stuff. I think there's some realism to that. I think they take the tribe and the lineage. I think they take that very seriously. So it's not really, it's just them turned up to 10 for TV.
Yes.
And Roman is so good. He's become like night and day. It's just it's unbelievable. The storyline arc or the real life arc of Roman Reigns, the person becoming this like master class of promo work and storytelling on the microphone is really unlike anything we've ever seen before. It's really he's done a complete 360 in terms of who he was and who he is now. It's truly remarkable to watch. And this is one of those segments that people are going to be talking about in 5 to 10 years time. It's going to be one of those. It's just like another one. They just keep doing it, and they could do this storyline for another year, realistically, and they could keep people intrigued, and keep people on the edge of their seat. I thought the super kick was amazing. The double super kick, Roman sold that like he had just been shot. Like you think Roman just got shot in the shoulder or something? The way he sold that, and then he gets up, he's fuming, he's holding his face. It's unbelievable. It's really just, it's great stuff. And the fact that he's like, they just did that to me, the tribal chief, Roman.
Yeah.
They just kicked me. It's like it's so cool. Paul Heyman adds a little extra element too. If you could just like go back and watch this segment and just watch Paul Heyman, don't watch anything else. You'll see a roller coaster of emotions. One moment he's smiling, he's laughing, he's like, "Yeah, that's my tribal chief." The next moment he's about to cry. The next moment he's angry, turning red, and it's just he's another one that's incredible. He's like it's just a background character that's doing pretty well. Go ahead, pal.
And further to that point, to build on it, what makes this so good, and people, especially when this storyline, once it's wrapped up in maybe a year or 2 years, and everyone has retrospectives and the deep dive, the breakdowns, and Superkick Studios releases an hour and a half Bloodline storyline documentary, which gets 500,000 views. Once this happens in 2 years, why was it so great? And it's because when you're watching it, as you talk about with Paul Heyman's facial expressions, it feels like every line, everything that's being said, everything you see on screen matters to the storyline. It matters to one character or another. If Roman Reigns gives X title, if he gives one of his belts to Solo, but he looks away, it's seen as dismissive. And then Solo's character can then respond to that. How does Solo take being disrespected? Will he do something? Paul Heyman, how will he react to that? Jay and Jimmy Uso, well, they've seen this before. This is all Roman's done to them for 3 years. One little action, and you get so much different, variation in each character. It's masterful. And Paul Heyman, I love that you brought that up. That's brilliant. Yeah, Heyman's facial expressions. He makes everything seem like, oh my god, oh my god. So like when you've got viewers at home who watch it and then they're more into it because of it, because Paul Heyman himself, when Roman says something that's really personal about Jey Uso, about the upbringing or how he's not welcome back in the tribe because of his behavior or his actions, and Paul Heyman's like, he's like smiling, he's looking all like dastardly, and then Jey Uso says something negative about Roman, and Paul Heyman like freaks out. He's like, "My tribal chief, I would never say that." He's like, he's having like he's faking a heart attack almost. And then Jim Uso's his character now is that he's seen the light and he's gunning for Roman's throat and he's saying really personal stuff. And I've had enough of you, Us, and I'm done and I'm sick of you blackmailing him and whatever. And Paul Heyman's just like he's about to cry and he looks like, oh my god, oh my god. It is brilliant stuff. So yeah, that's real quick why the storyline is so great. It's because everything feels like it matters. When a lot of storylines, it really doesn't. Like Kevin, when I'm watching Monday Night Raw, and you've got Ricochet getting punched by Bronson Reed at ringside as Nakamura is sitting next to Corey Graves, and what's his face? Who's the Raw announcer? The one who has the Scottish accent.
Um,
Whoever.
I can't remember his
Kevin
name.
Patrick.
Kevin Patrick,
I think.
yes.
Yeah, when Kevin Patrick's trying to make Bronson Reed and Nakamura punching each other with Ricochet at ringside seem like a big deal. I'm watching it going, there's no reason for me to care. When you watch this, and they give you a plethora of reasons to care. Heyman's acting, Reigns, Solo, Jay, Jimmy, the dynamic between the bunch. When will Cody get involved? Zayn, Owens, who's feuding with them next, or what's going on? It's so much to it. So, Kevin, I guess I'll throw the question to you in a year or two, whenever this ends, who knows? But I guess I'll ask you this just for a fun question now. You can answer, feel free. You want to dodge the question, go for it. What's the main thing you feel like you remember the Bloodline storyline for? What will be the legacy of this storyline, do you think?
That is a great question. Wow. Um, Honestly, I think the legacy would be the turnaround of Roman Reigns. I think that's what people will remember most. It's always going to be like, wow, this guy, because everybody hated him in 2018. He's getting booed out of the building everywhere. He's the worst babyface of all time, arguably. And then it's like in 2023, it's like this guy is just the best thing going in wrestling. And I think that'll always be the biggest talking point. What do you think?
Well, before I answer that, I'll say this. Austin Theory needs to study what Roman Reigns has done, and look at everything he's done, how he did it, because in many ways, they're very similar. Theory, especially nowadays, it feels like Roman Reigns, i.e., 2015 through like early 2018, just so forced, inorganic, disingenuous. Fans aren't buying a bar of it. If I'm Austin Theory, trying to get long conversations with Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman. What do I need to do? You're in a similar position. How did you fix it? All this sort of thing. Because a guy like Theory, well, as I said, in basically the same boat Reigns was 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and now look where Roman is. One of the greatest runs of the modern era, one of the greatest runs of all time, legendary world championship reign, a storyline that 3 years in, we're still talking about as one of the main things in wrestling. This isn't stale. This isn't something which we're bored of. It's not like, okay, we get the point, get it over with. It keeps fresh, it keeps interesting. So a guy like Theory, and there are a couple of others who, maybe not to Theory's extent, but a couple of others are in a similar sort of boat. Study this. Look at this. Wrestlers coming up. How's Roman doing this? What's he doing that makes this so good for a few years? Look at his acting, his mannerisms, how he delivers. All this. This is going to be studied for many years as how in modern wrestling in the social media day and age to make a storyline compelling and gripping. So Kevin, I don't even remember what the question was you asked, but yeah, there you go.
There it is, pal. All right, so now you want to move on to the what are we gonna name this segment? Have we come up with a name yet?
I don't know, but the feedback's been good actually. I've seen comments on YouTube and just generally the feedback that you guys enjoy this part of the show. It's a good element to the show, so appreciate that, Kevin. This is all your idea, I must say. I
Yes.
take no credit of this. This is you pitched this initially, and I was like, yeah, we'll give it a go, and turns out to be a good part of the show. So, Kevin, with that being said, is there something where you want to start us off? Because I've got a question I want to ask you.
Sure. Sure. Go ahead, ask me.
So this is still on the wrestling front. I've never heard your answer to this. So as we know, Kevin, wrestling isn't real. It's not MMA. It's not a legitimate fight sport where you never know. It's unpredictable and unscripted. Kevin, when and how did you find out wrestling was predetermined, scripted, whatever word you want to use? How did you find out? 'Cause my story with that is pretty ridiculous. I guess I'll throw to you. Do you have any fun story with that, or was it pretty mundane how you found out?
Yeah, I don't really have like a funny story to it. I just
Oh,
remember watching wrestling a lot as a kid.
yeah.
Um, and like my oldest, like one of my older brothers, probably my oldest brother, would be like, "Oh, you know that's fake, right?"
Okay.
And I was like, "I don't even know what that means." Like, okay, yeah, it's like 8 years old. Like, yeah, sure. So I always, for as far as I remember, I never looked at wrestling as like a real sport. always looked at it as like entertainment. So yeah, no, not the
No.
juiciest story, pal, but I want to hear your ridiculous story.
Oh, you'll love this. So it's late 2011. I've just started watching. I'm 8. I'm watching the WWE experience. It's as we've discussed and as you all know, it's Cena, it's Punk, it's Triple H being the CEO, it's WWE walkouts, it's Awesome Truth, all that good stuff. I'm watching for a few months. Kane comes back, and that was like the embrace the hate Kane. That's when he's back with the mask. He done being shirtless. Gyno Glenn Jacobs. He's put the tits away, and I'm watching it thinking, wait, this is the Undertaker's brother? Like I was confused. I was like looking at it. I'm like, how is Kane and the Undertaker brothers? So I went to their Wikipedias and I saw the age difference. Mark Calloway is what 58 now, so at the time he was like 47, and Glenn Jacobs is like 2, 3 years younger. I'm like, okay, they're brothers, I guess. Cool. Kane and the Undertaker are brothers. Cool. Paul Bearer's the father? What? And I looked at Paul Bearer's age, and Paul Bearer was like 4 years older than The Undertaker, according to that. And I was like, I'm so confused. What's happening? That can't be real. Paul Bearer had The Undertaker as a kid when he was like 5. What's going on? I got so confused. I'm like, oh, this isn't real, is it? And I had this like realization, like an 8-year-old me sitting at a computer on the Wikipedia of Paul Bearer and The Undertaker. And I realized, oh, maybe what I'm being told isn't 100% true. Maybe Paul Bearer isn't okay. So I just think that's a fun story to share because I don't know. I feel like everyone has a story of how they found out that it isn't real. It's predetermined. That was mine. I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't fully real. And then I was watching it, and that week, Kevin, on Monday Night Raw, the big segment was Kane dragging Zack Ryder. He ripped the ring open. The ring was like there's like a vessel to hell. Kane was ripping Zack Ryder down. Zack Ryder like fires blasting out of the ring. Zack Ryder's like, ah! And Cena's like clinging onto him. Super Cena. I was watching it going, yeah, maybe this isn't like real. I don't know. Something about this is a bit, yeah. And then the week after, Kane pushed Zack Ryder, who's in like 4 neck braces and a wheelchair, off the stage. I was like, okay, something's up here. But I don't know, Kevin, that's my story. I wanted to share that. I want your thoughts. Do you have any thoughts on that? Are you just like, wow?
I love
Or
that. It's great that you bring this up because I don't know if you saw that tweet that went viral about Kane and the Undertaker. Did you see that?
I did not know. What was it?
So there was, these questions that show up on Twitter. Somebody asked, "What's the biggest lie you've ever been told?" And it's like it was someone that doesn't have wrestling, that's not in wrestling Twitter, like someone that's like just Twitter famous for whatever they do. And they tweeted, "Oh, the fact that, or no, the fact that Kane and Undertaker were brothers." That was
Oh,
like
actually, I did say that. Yeah. That
yeah.
made it be on Twitter. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's like Instagram, TikTok, it went crazy, and I was just thinking like, yeah, that's so funny because like we all believed that as a kid. Everybody, every kid that watched wrestling, like pretty much, which is pretty much every kid from that's like in our age range, we all believed that Kane and Undertaker were brothers. It was just like, yeah, these guys are brothers, and then nobody questioned it. Nobody ever questioned it. And then you're like 15, 16, you're like, oh wait, they're not actually brothers. Okay, or however old, 12,
Yeah.
however old you were. But at some point, you realize that Kane and Undertaker aren't brothers. Like, damn, I've been lied to my whole life. It's so
Yeah. And
funny
then
that, like,
Paul Bearer's like 2 years older than both of them. It's like, oh, like what? Okay.
yeah, it's so
Sure.
funny how many people like believe that.
It's pretty nuts. No, it's good stuff. And yeah, I thought, yeah, fun story to share. It would be. And then, yeah, is there any other sort of discussion you want to have? Do you want to go down a sports rabbit hole? Do you want to go down a general day-to-day life rabbit hole? Where do you want to go with it from here?
We gotta figure out a name. That's definitely something we gotta figure out. I want to ask you about investing.
Hmm.
Talk about investing. Are you a crypto guy?
No,
Have you ever had
no,
crypto? You ever tried it?
I'm not. No, I'd more be into well stocks, general stocks more so. Like that'd be my rabbit hole. I've dabbled in, but I'm not like a crypto guy. No, I'm not into Logan Paul's crypto pump and dump scams, pal. What about you?
I tried it for a little bit, like a couple years back. It's so time consuming. It's like gambling. It's not really like investing. It's more like gambling. There's a few, there's Bitcoin and there's Dogecoin and there's like one or two others that are like more safe and it's something you can bet in. you could bet on for like, or not bet on, but you can invest in
Investing. Yeah.
long term. And then the rest of it's pretty much gambling. You're just gonna gamble like when this whatever coin that came from Taiwan or whatever country is gonna blow up and it'll be worth 5 times or 20 times more than what you paid for it. You just have to kind of gamble and predict that. And I guess a
Yeah.
lot of that, there's a lot of that in the stock market as well. But the stock market it just has more liquidity behind it.
Mhm.
Would probably be the best way to say it. There's Apple, there's Nike, there's Meta, there's
All these big
Amazon.
companies, yeah, these big organizations, yeah,
Yeah, there's
yeah,
just
yeah.
not enough of that in the crypto world. So it was kind of a dangerous game. It was no different than like betting on sports or like playing poker or blackjack in a lot of ways.
Well, I like it. It's so volatile. That's the other thing. Like I was like, I studied this. I'm like, is there like general opportunity here? Like, what's the go? So I looked into it, and yeah, like you look at the graphs of crypto coins or whatever crypto things generally, and it's like this. It's like that. It's like the thing. It's like a heart that's having a seizure, like a stroke. It's doing this on the graph, and in one moment it's worth a bunch and then it's down. Whereas generally with stocks, unless a big announcement's made with a company and something goes down or really far up, generally it's more like that, and it like goes like a bit like this. And maybe over time, if you give it like 2, 3 years for most companies, assuming the market doesn't crash and Biden takes over again, it
Uh
goes
oh,
like
uh
this
oh.
generally. So yeah, there you go. So that it feels much safer. It's not Logan Paul promoting NFT pump and dump scams. So yeah,
Do you
there you go,
remember
Ken.
the GameStop stock, the debacle?
I remember hearing of that. What was that one again?
It was just like it got started on like Reddit or
Yeah,
something, some other forum. Where everybody's just like, hey, let's go buy a bunch of GameStop stock and let's just ruin their stock. No, let's just ruin that company. People just started buying a bunch of GameStop stock, and if you did it like first, then once the stock went up, it went up like whatever, like 300-400%, whatever the number was. You could sell your stock, and it really messed up the market for a little bit. They had to
yeah,
get like hedge fund billionaires kind of to invest in like kind of restabilizing the market.
yeah,
It really changed things in a lot of ways, but it was like one of those pandemic era things. And like I remember people like on like Wall Street and like MSNBC, they were like, "Oh my God, this is the end. This is the end of the stock market as we know it." And the stock market has thrived, but I don't know. Like investing is like it's tough, man. I want to get into it in some way, shape, or form. I just don't know what I want to do.
yeah. Well, I have a friend who literally day trades. That's his thing. Like
Oh
he's
yeah,
just always been good at it. And I was like, how are you so good? Like, how do you get it? Like, how do you know? Okay, this one, and more often than not, he has like success with stocks and like short sort of turnarounds. And it's like an innate. It's a real skill. It's a real skill. So yeah, there is that. You bought one. So Kevin, you were saying about sports gambling. You mentioned that how crypto it's like similar. I want a quick question to you. Have you had any success with like sports gambling before, or is that like usually misses, or do you get hits on that? Like, what's your win loss? Would you say
I've had a ton of
on that?
success. And not
Yeah.
great success, but I've had a ton of success. Um, so what I would do is I would I'd put like a few bucks in the account, whatever, like $20-$30, and then I would turn that into like 500,000 just based off winning. I'd bet on baseball games or hockey, football, whatever, soccer, whatever's on. And I remember like last year, it was around Cinco de Mayo, so that's May 5th. It's a holiday here. Are you familiar with that? Does that
N-
make it to
Never heard of it in
Australia?
my life.
Okay.
No clue.
So
No.
I believe I don't want to be misquoting it. It's the Mexican Independence Day. I'm pretty sure. So it's a big day here in the United States. Basically, it's an excuse for everybody to go get drunk and tacos and like celebrate the Mexican culture. And it's so either way, Canelo Alvarez was fighting the Mexican boxer. They have a fight every year on Cinco de Mayo. And I had like 600-700 bucks in my account, my betting account, and I put all that on Canelo, all of it, because Canelo was fighting like this guy who nobody ever heard of. He was like a -400 favorite, and he lost. And I was watching him lose. I was at a bar watching him lose. Like I was like three. It was like 3 or 4 rounds in. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna lose. this guy is better than him. Not better than him, but this guy's just bigger than him. And I was like, wow. I'm watching it just my money just slowly slip away. That was a long night.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a horror story, that.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, that
But
was
pal,
that was when I was like, okay, I gotta slow down. Gotta take it easy.
pal, the last decade, if you wanted a surefire, easy way to make money, you just bet on whoever the Knicks are playing. Bet on whoever the Knicks are playing to win, bet on the Knicks to lose. Bang. There you go.
Bang.
Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry.
But I've had some crazy successes. Like I've turned like
Yeah.
$500 into like I've turned $5 into like 500 games and
Yeah.
so you take some and you lose some is what it
Well, I've
is.
had a friend who's literally done that, but to like another level. Like they're one of those people. There are jokes about these sort of people who are betting on like Japanese league hockey games or
Oh
like
yeah.
these obscure random sports, which are like gold mines if you really look into it, and
Yes.
you can just make so much. And it got to the point where the betting company who were running the account basically like froze his account because he was making too much money.
Ah.
Like it was like he turned like $5 into like 9,000 in about 2 weeks. One of these type of situations
Woo.
where it was like you have like three different bets going. You're watching the lacrosse in Belgium, and then you're watching the wheelchair rugby in like Germany, and this like random obscure stuff, and just the money's skyrocketing, and they didn't give him the money. It was I think I'm like you could take them to court probably over that. Like you can't legally do that, but yeah, it's pretty nuts.
I love that. Yeah, I have a friend who does that too. He like one time he texted me like 4 in the morning. I saw it when I woke up the next day, and I was like, bro, what are you doing watching like Japanese air hockey? Or he was like betting on like rugby, not air hockey, but Japanese hockey or like rugby or something. I was like, what are you doing, bro?
But you're
Like,
watching like third division Japanese like under 21s rugby. It's like, what's going on? What's happening? What are you doing? It's 3 a.m. Go to bed. Like,
let's do a quick minute on baseball, pal.
yeah,
So your Arizona Diamondbacks
yes,
are a top 5 team in the MLB right now. What's your honest thoughts on that, pal?
pal. I love the Diamondbacks, and for those of you who don't know, I've been a fan of them for probably about 2 3 years. I've been shamed for it. It's been like a bit of a rebuild, retool sort of phase for the Diamondbacks, and they've come out really the other side. And I mean, you talk about that top five, Kevin. They're coming for the World Series. This is a team who's playing some damn good baseball. I like the depth of the squad. I like the way they're playing. I think this team can make some noise come playoffs.
Pal, can you name me 5 players on the Diamondbacks roster without looking it
Yeah,
up?
so Kevin, I look at the
Without
Diamondbacks
looking it
and a
up.
team
Without
that
looking it
good.
up.
So,
Without looking
what's
it
sorry?
up. You can't look it up,
No,
pal.
no, pal. Firstly, you got Corbin Carroll.
I know you're looking
Okay,
it up.
damn good center fielder.
I know you're looking
He's
it
the
up.
heart and soul of the
I know
fielding lineup.
you're looking it up, pal.
I'm not. Kevin, you have no proof. Where's your proof?
I heard
I'll
you
look at a
typing.
guy like Zach Gallen.
I heard you
Amazing
typing.
pitcher, lethal
I heard you
arm.
typing.
Kevin, his arm is just lethal. Zach Gallen, what a G. And then I look at a guy like Lourdes Gurriel Jr., phenomenal left fielder. Okay, this guy makes left fielding seem like child's play. He makes left fielding seem like breathing. All right. Then a guy like Jake McCarthy in the center field, Alec Thomas, Kevin. That's 5 right there. I can name you the whole squad. I'm not big of a fan, but
yeah?
the whole point here,
Ridiculous.
this team's going to make some noise. This is a team you don't want to F with come the postseason. We are the Arizona friggin' Diamondbacks. All right. You don't disrespect. Kevin, the Phoenix Suns are making a disgrace of Arizona with paying $45 million for Bradley Beal they don't need. That's a disgrace to Arizona. The Diamondbacks, that's where it's at, Kevin. So there you go.
Diamondbacks are the pride and joy of Arizona, pal.
Kevin, the Diamondbacks might be one of the best teams MLB's ever seen.
Pal, when was the last time the Diamondbacks won a World Series?
Kevin,
Do you know?
before I answer that, let me say this. The Diamondbacks, you pit this team, this 2023 team, against the 1990s Yankees who are on steroids and all that. You face them off against each other, Kevin, the Diamondbacks are winning every time. Okay? The Diamondbacks are that good a franchise. They can win it all, Kevin. And do you want to know when they won the World Series? I can tell you that now, pal.
No, it's funny that you mentioned the Yankees because they actually were the ones that ended the Yankees dynasty, that '90s dynasty.
See? I told you that. In
Hilarious.
2001, they won. They ended the Yankees dynasty. Kevin, I know more about sports than anyone, pal.
Oh yeah. Oh my god, that is too funny.
Pal, anyone who knows anything about sports knows that the NBA with Jokic as the best player is not a good NBA, but nonetheless.
Oh, that is too funny. All right, I want to let's do another baseball minute here. Or
Yes.
continue on this baseball minute.
Yep.
So, um, this is what this is for Brian. We're gonna talk about this one for Brian. I know he's watching. So I sent JTE a video about Max Scherzer like about a month ago, and you were not impressed with Max Scherzer, pal. I got the impression that you were not impressed with him, and how tough of a man he is, pal. That is a Mets icon. How could you disrespect Max Scherzer, pal?
Okay, pal. I remember this. You sent me the video. You're like, "Have you watched it yet? Have you watched it yet?" I'm like, "No." And then I watched it. I'm like, "Fair play. This dude's a G. He's a tough one. This guy." But then, Kevin, I thought this. I was watching it, going, "Okay, he's good, but he can't hold a candle to my Diamondbacks. My Diamondbacks are better than him. They're better than the Mets. They're better than the prime Yankees. They're better than all of them. All right, my Diamondbacks, they don't play this sabermetricians baseball. They're not an analytics team, Kevin. The Diamondbacks are a real baseball franchise. They play real gritty ball, pal.
I know what define that. What is real gritty baseball? Define the skill and the
Pal.
approach that it takes.
Let's move to the next topic.
Oh man, no, I want to talk the Mets for a moment though. I got to air out some grievances, pal.
This is great stuff.
This Mets team is quite frankly disgusting.
Yep.
This is just brutally I want to cut my eyes out sometimes watching this team play. Their payroll is like north of $300 million for this season. They've got like at least like 8 players making over $20 million. I don't even know if that's ever happened before in baseball, except for like the Steinbrenner Yankees. This team is the most expensive team in the history of sports, not just baseball, any sport. Maybe Miami FC. I think that is it that or Inter Miami, the team that signed Messi.
They've signed Messi, so yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna sign Messi. They're gonna sign like Di Marie and some other icons of the football world. So they might pass the Mets at some point as the most expensive team. But in team sports, this Mets team is the most expensive team in the Big Four sports ever assembled. And they're what, like 10 games under 500.
Bro, you take like Kevin. I'm going to read the standings right now. The Mets are 34-40. They are 6 games below 500, with the most expensive team ever in baseball. Just about. That is outrageous. Then you look at a team like my Diamondbacks, 16 games over 500. We're good at home. We're good away. Form in the last 10, But that's not the point, Kevin. The point is the Mets are in the bin. Kevin, should the Mets blow it up, rebuild, get rid of the players, get draft picks, get players from Japan? What should they do, pal? How do they negotiate this, pal?
Actually, they signed a player from Japan in the offseason. It was supposed to be this big pitching acquisition. Throws the ghost fork ball.
How's that turned out for you? How's that worked?
He's not really making much of a difference. The pitching staff is awful. the starting rotation is captained by it might as well be the Jericho and Sting of MLB. These guys that have passed their prime. That every single Mets fan.
Sting's a whore. Forget about him. Carry on.
Yeah, every single Mets fan is telling me that Scherzer and Justin Verlander have something left in the tank. I don't know what that something is. They're both about to hit 40. Their best days are way behind them. They're like 9 years removed from their prime, and I'm still being told, no, these guys, they're aces, they're worth the money. Like, no, they're not. We got to do what the Astros do. We got to get pitching somehow, some way in the farm system. Get someone out there that knows what they're doing. Maybe hire somebody from the Astros. They develop pitchers better than anybody in the history of baseball. Hire somebody from their organization. Bring them in. Start developing pitchers. Stop throwing money at these old guys, these dinosaurs that can't go anymore. But I digress. And I'm going to give you a brutal assessment on your Diamondbacks right now.
Yeah, go for it.
The right now they're 46-30, 16 games over 500, but they're 4-10 or what would you say, 4-6 in the last 10 games.
They're 5-5. They're 500, pal.
They're 500. Okay, that's not
Not good enough for a team this great, but anyway.
Yeah, not really a big deal. But they're, I mean, it's in the analytics, pal. Their run differential, their their run differential's not great. It's hinting that they're playing better than, they're playing better than their talent is. Um, by the end of the season, the Dodgers and the Giants will have a better record than them. The Diamondbacks will probably round out. Maybe they'll win like 80, 85 games. You know, maybe 85, 86 games. Just keep it a real, pal. That's what we do here. Um,
Kevin, Kevin, you're talking about talent is overperforming. You just talked about how your Mets, the great talent, is way underperforming.
yes, correct.
And you have the nerve to
Yeah.
slight my Diamondbacks. Kevin, a year, 2 years ago, we were the laughing stock of the MLB. We were one of the worst franchises.
Oh, no, let me cut you off. I shouldn't say talent is underperforming with the Mets. They're overpaid.
Okay.
Overpaid. That's
Overpaid and underperforming. As I was saying,
yeah.
now you look at the MLB, Kevin, I want your ruthless thoughts. As someone in me who I follow Diamondbacks game, I start to all hours of the morning to watch replays of Diamondbacks
For
games.
sure,
But
yeah.
when I look at the other franchises, talk to us. How are the Athletics and the Royals so bad? Like,
Well, the Athletics, they've been good. They've been pretty good like pretty much all my life. But the city's quit on them. The city, the city wants them out. They're in the move to Vegas. They're in the process of moving to Vegas, relocating.
mhm,
Um, they're just like trading away all their players. The front office doesn't care anymore. They know they're gonna get fired once they go to Vegas. So they're trading away all their players. The attendance is at a record low. There were literally rats in the stadium. There were rats in the commentary booth. The Oakland Athletics are struggling majorly.
yeah,
And the Kansas City Royals, they're just cheap. They had a great team. They won the
yeah,
World Series 8 years ago. I believe they went
yeah,
to back-to-back World Series, if I'm not mistaken. And they were contenders for a number of years, but they just didn't want to keep their players. They traded them all away because they were cheap.
yeah.
The Athletics,
That's great.
yeah, Athletics is a sad story, pal. But yeah, I'm ready to get out of here, pal. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, that was the main sort of conversation. I just wanted to, discuss a bit of baseball because, baseball is my go-to. Like, if you're gonna ask me about a sport, it is baseball.
Hmm.
Okay, I just love a good old-fashioned game of just baseball. Good old-fashioned game of ball, pal. Just get the glove out, whack that bad boy. Oh, got it. Like, it's great stuff. So there you go, pal. Any
There
other
it
thoughts,
is.
or are we good out here?
All right, we'll talk to you guys on the next one. Please 5-star reviews on Spotify. Keep them coming. You're all beautiful people, and we'll talk to you on the next one.